Okay, no, don't worry. We are back, and I have received a lot of requests to talk about more Radiant Black stuff. So, unfortunately, there hasn't been a new issue that's come out since June, and I'm recording this on July 17th. So, a little over a month ago was when the last issue came out. But you know what? I decided let's just go ahead and talk about it anyway. So, I'm going to talk today about Radiant Black number 15. All right, now let's directly address the elephant in the room. It has been a while since I have done a comic book review, but B, since I have talked about specifically Radiant Black. So, some things have happened since the last time I talked about this. The last time, like I said, I've talked about this was at issue 10, and yeah, some things have gone down since then. Granted, at the end of issue 10 was when, Nathan came back to life. Marshall was able to bring him back to life. So that happened. Nathan is back, and Marshall has taken a little bit of a darker turn, which you would think wouldn't be the case. You would have thought he would have hit the darker turn while Nathan was still out of it, and perhaps that's where all of this kicked off. But as of right now, he's using more brutal methods, and that's kind of where we're picking up the story at the moment because Nathan is aware of the methods that he's employing, and of course he's worried about him. So when the giant alien robot thing reaches out to Nathan and starts talking to him, of course he's a little bit concerned, but at the same time he's a little bit relieved, I would say, in that it seems like he might be able to possibly help his friend if he has this access to whatever it is that's going on. I believe that's the main driving force for him going forward, and we're going to see a little bit more of that as we get into the issue itself. But having said all of that, let us go ahead and actually get into the issue itself. Now, as I mentioned just a moment ago, Nathan has been in contact with the robot, and that's actually where we're picking this up. He's waking up in this, whatever this other place is, whatever they're going to end up eventually calling this, that's where he is with the robot, looking down at him. And he's just standing there all naked. So, of course, it greets him, and it's saying, it's good to see him. He says, it's good to see you too. How are you still talking to me? I died and the Radiant left me, so this doesn't really make sense. It seemed like that's the only way for them to be in contact. And then that's where he also starts throwing in a few more questions, asking, where did he go? What is all this that he's connected to and everything? And the robot just doesn't have any answers at all. And that's when he kind of does the whole, like, after a breakup thing, where he's like, wait, do you want me back? He says, what about Marshall? And then, the robot tells him that his connection is final, permanent, for the duration of his life. He's, part of this whole damn thing. So then he's saying, so what is it, what are we doing here? And that's when the robot is saying to him unknown, and then asks him again, how are you? So he just says, I'm fine. And then he kind of puts it together when he asks, wait, you don't understand this either, do you? You're trying to figure out what the hell this is too. And it tells him, yes, that's correct. One says no, correct, but you get what I mean. He says there are things about these radiants you don't know, and for whatever reason, he takes some comfort in that this thing that seemingly seems to travel, communicate, and imbue power through this radiant thing, it doesn't understand them either, which is kind of interesting because then who does understand this shit? He says, I thought you kept reaching out because, Marshall was making some, I don't know, interesting choices, but you're just trying to figure this out too. And it says, yes. He was over here just thinking it's concerned about him too, but no, it's just, it has no idea what the hell is going on. Nobody seems to know what's going on. He's asking what it all means. The robot says, that's a good question. Now, a question for you. What do you want? And then he just says, he just wants to help, which makes sense for his personality. But now we go back over to Marshall and Nathan at the little, while Marshall's working. So he says, it's just a cash grab. Nothing is sacred anymore. And he's like, I don't know, man. They got Reginald James Black. He's like, so actors take shitty jobs all the time. At the very least, it's definitely not worth printing out their ad and hanging it because they're going to be working on like a whole Radiant Black thing. But of course, they're not using him in the movie. They're using an actor. So he's just all bitter Betty about it. And that's kind of what's going on right here. They're all just kind of discussing this movie that's apparently going to be shot. So he's talking about how it's PR. He says, I mean, we could actually be open and renting slash screening the original Cowl movies and making money. But sure, closing somebody can make an unauthorized short and collect ad sales on YouTube is way better for us. So Nathan's just saying that he's cynical. He says, did they ask you? Because they sure didn't ask me. He just tells him, come on, Radiant Black versus Blaze. A year ago, if you told me they were making a movie, he just tells him that it's an unlicensed fan film. But he says, you know what? It's okay to just let yourself be a fan sometimes. I'm embracing this journey for you. I will say, I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. It's okay to just be a fan sometimes. It really is. It's fine. No one's going to die because you decided to like something. Anyway, this is when the redhead, who I believe was the ex-girlfriend, is now apparently the girlfriend again. Anyway, she walks in and telling him, we have to talk with that whole face that says, you're not going to like this talk. He walks out, and then they do that whole, like, back and forth thing where she's just telling him, I need to go back to LA like this week. He says, okay, well, that's pretty sudden. And she says, Jonah's going into prep on the indie, and I've got to take over the office until we go on set. It sucks, I know. But she basically just telling him, I don't have a choice. I have to leave, or maybe you could come back to LA with me. But he just says, I still have therapy that I'm dealing with. I can't just, I just came back from being dead, basically. I can't go and destroy my whole life again so soon and just leave with you. So she says, okay, so we knew this was, basically how this could happen, how this could play out. Anyway, she says, you know what, we'll just keep talking and we'll see what happens. Also, Jonah read your last short. He likes it. TV written all over it. Maybe there's an opportunity in this for you too. He's just like, oh, well, all right. She says, I'm sorry, they need help on this location list, so I can't make lunch, but I'll see you tonight. And he says, okay, fine, yeah, see you later, as she's just walking away, already getting on the phone and shit. We go back over to the other two, or to Nathan and Marshall as they're walking like through the set and everything, seeing the setup for the whole movie or unlicensed fan film, whichever we're going to call it. So he's telling it, well, Nathan's saying, this is really legit. And then Marshall's saying, well, it should be. Their shorts go viral. He's telling him, yeah, like viral means anything when it comes to production quality. And you know what? That's very true. There are a lot of things that will go viral and the production quality is absolutely shit. It's all about what people actually find entertaining. And unfortunately, you never really know for sure. You can guess and you can be pretty accurate about your guesses, but you can never know for sure. You really don't. For example, I never thought that one of my most requested things to talk about would be this particular book. And I'm fine with it because I do enjoy the story. Please don't assume that I don't like it. I do. I just never saw it coming. So there's that. Anyway, where did I leave off on this crap? So Nathan, sorry, it's not crap. I'm having fun by myself. So Nathan is saying, dude, I can't believe you're not, no, not enjoying it. But he says, it's just going to be a hatchet job. And even if it's not, it'll be an assault on the eyes. Their palette ranges from dark and edgy to glossy and flat. I feel like that was shots at both DC, EU, and the MCU. So well done. I'm gonna give you credit for that one. Anyway, he says, also wasn't JJ coming to lunch, and that's where he, tells him, well, she actually has to go back to LA. He says, yeah, not today, but really soon. So Marshall's just asking, okay, well, what does that mean? Are you guys going to try to keep things going? He says, I don't know. Haven't really, had time to think about it yet. There is something though that, I want to tell you about. But I may have taken one of the robot's calls. He says, before you get pissed, the good news is he doesn't know what's going on either. Pretty sure he's just trying to connect to sort out how we're able to. But that's when Marshall tells him, okay, so what's the bad news? He's telling him no bad news. He's like, fine. Then why are you telling me like this? He says, because I knew you weren't going to like it. We're just trying to figure out how it's happening though, I swear. He's like, look, if you want to talk in cosmic circles, knock yourselves out. Why would I care? He says, look, you're a Radiant Black man. That's not going to change, because he can already kind of sense, even though Marshall's trying to be very nonchalant about it, he can basically tell, like, he has some concern that maybe I'm trying to usurp this power from him. He's just trying to tell him, like, look, this is on you. You made your decision. You want to be the hero or whatever it is you're doing. I support that. I'm not going to try to get in the way or take that away from you. He says, you were right before. I need to do a better job of being supportive. I want to. So, now that means camping out to watch them film and geek out when Reginald holds up the gauntlet. How often do you get to see one of your movie heroes put on the costume again and fight you? So Marshall's kind of coming around, says depends on the convention. And he says, I stole the script from a PA. Come on, maybe it'll surprise you. So He says, I should blow everything up, and it's a good thing that he doesn't, but you'll see why later. This is where we go over to this, I'm assuming public rest. Well, no, it's not public restroom. That looks like a rather nice sink or countertop, whatever it is. So probably not that public. But anyway, she's in there. She's looking at this thing that's basically her battery for her suit. And as you can see, it's at about 2%, so it's about to die. She says, he'll be here. You've got this. She puts on her hoodie and everything and walks out. Now we go back over to Nathan Marshall. They're sitting at the bar and they're just going over this whole, like, the script. And as you can tell, Marshall is very much not impressed. He's actually pretty pissed off about it. Nathan's not all happy about it as well, but he's he's trying to be a little bit more optimistic, even though he has his issues with it. He's like, well, maybe it can be salvaged in some way. They're going back and forth on this. And then another guy just starts talking about how Blaze is a legend. And then Marshall turns to him and says, we know all about Blaze. Huge Blaze fans. The real one and the movies. He says, then why would you ever think this Radiant guy could last 2 minutes with them? He says, okay, first of all, and of course, as you might assume, that's where Marshall's going to just go off on him about how much better he is. We go back over to the outside of the movie set and everything, and then we can see the girl is like making her way through all the people as well. When a guy notices her and says, do you mind if we take a quick look inside of your bag? She says, that's okay, I wasn't going to stay. He's like, well, no. It's just a requirement. If you're even going to be here, we have to look through this bag. So he goes to like snatch the shit from her, and then it starts opening up and the suit starts falling out as he's telling her to wait. So when it falls on the ground, she looks up all panicked and shit because, of course, they're going to see her with the suit and realize she must be somebody, but who? What is she able to do? We go back over to Marshall and Nathan as Marshall is still talking about all of this shit at the bar. So I'm not going to narrate all of this, but if you want to read it, I will linger on this for just a second so you can go ahead and get the whole thing as I am trying to finish this sentence with I was trying to draw it out for you. If you haven't read it by now, I'm sorry. Pause it or something and you can read it. Anyway, they notice that there's this commotion coming from outside and everybody's running away and they can even see everybody running away. So they know something's going on set. And they hear that it's Doppler. Of course, they see that Doppler is, yes, she's being accosted by everybody and they're all trying to grab her suit and everything. So she's not that much of a threat at the moment because she's not wearing it. There's even this guy, I guess a YouTuber or just a streamer, who's saying that it's your boy Possum Wanter. Possum Wanter. It didn't even strike me the first time I read this how weird that name is. Possum Wanter? Okay, so it's our boy Possum Wanter who's on the set of the Versus thing, and he's talking about like that this is the craziest cameo. Doppler's in the house and shit. All of a sudden, she presses the button that I guess activates the suit, and that just causes everybody to go flying or just be knocked unconscious. As she's able to resist it, I guess, because she's the one who pressed the button and she was holding onto the suit, so maybe it canceled it out for her because she was just holding it. Anyway, she says that it wasn't supposed to be like this, and that's when, of course, Marshall flies up on her in his suit and he just uses his powers to scoop her up and flies away with her, telling her, what the hell's your problem? Seriously, Anya, I don't want them making it either, but I sure as hell don't want you trashing it. So she's just telling him, look, it's not like that. You weren't even supposed to know I was here. He's like, well, surprise, that didn't work. Also, I don't know if you've seen the news, but I'm officially done with this YouTube villain shit. I'm leaving you with the cops, but she activates the thing again and, is able to catch him off guard. So she goes falling down and is able to do the whole superhero landing type of thing. She runs into the bowling alley. And of course, he pursues her, follows her in there, and then is telling the guy who's bowling, is like, yeah, I don't want to be here either. And then she says, okay, then fine, leave. Or he was telling her that. She starts using her powers to make all of the like bowling pins and bowling balls like fly at him and shit. And we can see where everybody finally gets the clue and everybody runs out. She's saying, I wasn't coming to make a scene, just to get a charge. I need it to keep going, because if you remember, basically all of the villains, the way that their powers or their suits work is that they charge based off of him. So they have to fight him in order for them to be able to use their abilities. It's kind of a weird way of going about it, but yeah, they just have to be near him, near where he's operating, and it'll charge. Anyway, he's asking her, like, what does that mean? And then she tells him, I have a condition, essential tremors. The Doppler tech is the only thing keeping them under control, and it charges by being near you. So if I want to keep working, he says, you mean robbing banks, She says, I mean co-composing and performing songs with young prisoners to help them work through trauma. You told me to do better. I am. Not all of us hire a film crew to feel good. That's when he has to tell her, like, look, I'm sorry, the whole superpowered bank robber with a morality lesson, really? Newsflash, I have nothing to do with this shoot, but if you think I'm gonna let you ruin it. So she's just telling him, do you even want to help people? He says, what kind of question is that? She says, I'm still trying to figure out if you give a damn, if you actually stand for anything. So he just says, even though I shouldn't be required to say it, of course, yes, I want to help. And she just says that that's bullshit. But he says, you don't even know me. She says, why? Why do you want to help? He says, because no one helped me. So she starts walking away as she's saying, then you should take your own advice, do better. Thanks for the boost. And then she just, leaves him alone. He goes over to the people who are actually working on the film crew and everything as they're filming this one scene with the guy saying, hey, I'm Radiant Black. Don't freak out, but you're in the future. And he says, what is this? What did you do? He says, oh, I'll tell you what he did. Blatant copyright infringement and probably slander. He ruins their shot and everything, but he doesn't actually break anything. We can give him that credit, right? Well, he's about to ruin that because Nathan's like, and he's blowing up. So we see where he just goes off on the director saying that they need to talk. He tells him he read the script. You think that's all I am, huh? Just a sick costume with killer one-liners? Well, I think you don't know which way to point a goddamn lens. So he's a little bit steamed, to say the least. He goes on this whole rant saying, I mean, what the hell gives you the right to try to revive one of the greatest on-screen superhero tragedies of our time? Plus, debut me, the next future better hero, and then I lose? You don't even know half the stuff I've saved your lives from, much less whatever the hell else is coming. Giant robots and dark gods and existential black holes and come on, a little respect for the guy currently putting his life on the line for you would go a long way towards. Wait, is that Will Friedle? Hold up. Did you get Batman Beyond to play me? He's like, yeah, we did. So we could see Will Friedle apparently in the back just waving. He's like, okay, that's actually pretty dope, I think. Eric Matthews with superpowers? And he's like, that was totally what we were thinking. He just says, wait, who are you? And then that's where the guy comes running up saying that he wrote the whole short, telling him he's a huge fan. We didn't know if we'd see you on set, but seriously, this is great. So he's just like, really? He's like, and you are? He says, oh, I'm just, helping out. So he says, yeah, super random. We were talking at the bar after you took care of Doppler, and I didn't realize this is the guy from the coma. So, of course, Nathan was, like I said, trying to salvage it and make the story a little bit better. He tells him he started telling me what he thinks Radiant Black means, and that sparked some ideas, especially for the monologue. This guy can seriously write. So he looks at him and he's like, yeah, that is pretty good. So he just like kind of elbows him, tells him, you're helping out, huh? He says, look, I'm trying to be supportive. Their hearts are in the right place, RB. This thing could be cool. So he says, look, what the hell? Why don't I save you some money and we do the VFX in camera? So of course the director's like hyped. He's like, oh, we can really do that. He's like, yeah, but I do have some thoughts on the ending. Of course, he gets his ideas into the script and everything, and they get to do the whole like, movie scene and all that shit. So anyway, we see later on where Nathan and Marshall again walking downtown, walking and talking, and then he's telling him about, the whole shot that they got that looked really cool. He says, okay, that actually was pretty killer. He says, see, I knew you'd get into it. So he says, well, come on, dude, that speech you wrote, you got to the heart of all this, and tying in the love of Cowl, so smart and true. I just wish I could have been there for the first part. I got stuck cleaning up a bowling alley. So he says, yeah, what happened with Doppler? And he's just telling her, like, or tells him, like, look, she's just, needed to recharge her stuff for something she's got going on, but she's actually trying to, do better for herself. So he says, I was thinking earlier, all these people who draft off the Radiant, charging their gear, I wonder if that has any effect on it, like, over time. He says, well, guess we'll have to ask the robot. And then that's where he says, no, that's okay, don't worry about it. But Nathan tells him, sorry, I just meant if he reaches out, I can ask. But if you don't want me to, he says, look, I know I said that it doesn't bother me talking to him, but I gotta be honest, it's not sitting right. Because it feels like, I don't know, he doesn't reach out to me. So why you? What's he planning? He says, dude, that's not at all how this is. He says, look, it's okay. We connected, figured out that it's possible. We don't have to do it again. He says, like, look, don't get me wrong. I appreciate you coming around on all this, but I think after the Doppler stuff today and everything else, I feel like maybe I need to do this for myself, you know? Like, this has to be me, not what you think I should be. Even if you actually nailed it, I just really need this to be my thing. You get that, right? And of course, Nathan is perturbed. He's bothered by that, but he's trying to, not be bothered by it. And he's just like, yeah, of course, whatever you think is best, man, just trying to help. So they go on walking. And then we get this nice splash page that has the QR code that actually takes you to the YouTube video that is the whole like animated short that they were working on for this. So pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. It does have Will Friedle voicing um, Radiant. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I'll even put a link to it down in the description below, just to make it easier for you. So yeah, go and watch the video. I've seen it. It's pretty good. So we have that whole little thing that happens here. When we get to the end of the video or to the end of the issue, we see where we have Radiant Black standing there in the in the video, and then we have what's her name sitting there as she's watching it herself, and then she says, "Nice try." As someone phases into the room, he says, For someone with complaints about the way things are, you don't seem super keen to do much about it. We're going to take the Radiant out of Radiant Black. For real. Could use your help to do it clean. What do you think? You want to be someone who actually makes a difference?" And then she gives it a second and then says, "Okay." That's where this actually leaves off for right now. And then, the end of it had just some extra stuff as far as like, when they were working on the animation, all that, which pretty cool. Again, like I said, I thought that was a really cool touch putting in, the QR code that goes to the YouTube video that links into that whole little short that they were actually doing. So that way they were able to do something actually cool like an animated cartoon for it, but without having to make it directly tie into all the stuff happening in the story. It's like it was just something that was being worked on in the story. So I think that was pretty cool. A nice touch, a nice way to bring the real world into all of this type of thing. So I enjoy what they're actually doing with this property, with this series. I mean, they're being very understated about it. It has like a Twitter thing like correct like connected to different stuff in this. Like Radiant Black has his own Twitter where it seems like he's actually talking, and they have the YouTube video thing. Like they're actually, spreading this out in a multimedia pretty, type of way, and it's pretty cool to see. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens with this going forward. I'm still enjoying the story. I wouldn't mind getting back to some of these other characters that we've seen. Kind of seems like we're losing a little bit of sight of that, but if we're able to bring that back in, then we'll see where it goes from there. But I know I'm just gonna keeping up with this series. I guess I have been this whole time. I haven't been making videos about it, but I have been reading it, so that's why I knew what's been going on. And yeah, when I got to this issue, really cool. Like I said, with when I got to the video thing, blown away. I thought that was such a cool little touch. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like I said, this has been one of my most requested things to talk about is the Radiant Black stuff, and I understand why. I'm enjoying it, and as I've said pretty much every time I've talked about it, I did not enjoy this series when it first started. I kept with it, and it actually got a lot better. I'm actually enjoying the story a lot now. So, I mean, that's at least my opinion. Take it for whatever it's worth to you. But yeah, like I said, if you have any thoughts on this, share them with me. You know the appropriate place for you to do so. That is right below this video. Share them with me in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on and all that stuff. Just do all the things because I don't actually know what it is that helps the algorithm anymore. So just go ahead and do all of the stuff. And we'll just, if you cover all the bases, nobody has anything to say, right? So yeah, go ahead and do all of that. But if you're done here, go and read a book, especially this one, if you can still find copies of this one somewhere. Go read the book, watch the video, do that whole thing. If you're not done here, then I'll see you on my next video.